Hello, and welcome to an Apple a Day with Dr. Amanda on Wisdom Wednesday. So if you're joining on podcast, welcome. Communication with family, friends, and again, family patterns, all kinds of things to help you become the best version of yourself, whether it be in health or wellness or setting goals. So welcome. And if you're here on YouTube, like, share, and subscribe or tell a friend. I'm glad you'll see me in person. So I am so delighted that you're here for this Wisdom Wednesday. And this time, what we're going to talk about is one of my favorite topics, which is talking about the difference between gossip, complaining, and venting. And a lot of times we don't know. And a lot of times we may not know the motives that we're doing things for. Because a lot of times it may be either from past pain or being frustrated or trying to be better than what the other person's doing. And none of those really help in a situation. So if we're looking at leadership in any area, we want to do it with the right heart motives and for the right purposes. And so I'm so delighted that you're here. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about first what gossip is and what gossip is not. And one of my favorite topics and really areas, and this obviously is, I love the title, Keep It Shut, by Karen Amen, but it's probably one of the best books I've had on that. There's many different types of books, and this is one of them that I had for a long time ago, and I've had it and read it, and it's just a great reminder. You know, there's all kinds of different podcasts and areas out there for us, and even for family things. I really had to learn how to shut things down for family and know when I can say something and when not to, and when it's important and when it hurts other people. And so whenever it's harmful, we don't want to do that. You know, again, depending on our situation and what it means. Usually there's a process. Now, depending if you are a person of faith, it may look different versus, there's different types of faith. But for me, I want to keep integrity with what I say to people, and I want to speak life over people and not death, or I don't want to speak negative. I want to speak life, and I want to have hope for people and still address things. So I want to just talk about what is gossip and what it's not. And so a lot of times people try to say, well, I'm venting and whatnot, but there are certain things with venting that ends up being gossip. So you really want to know how to do this the best way to be honoring to you and the person. And so when we're looking at this, yes, I get excited over this. So important. When you're talking about it, you know, when we talk about the concept of gossip, does that mean we can't talk about the person when they're not present? The answer is no. What it is what you're speaking and how you're speaking it. It might be appropriate and necessary, but we want to differentiate. And so some things that I always think about is, so I'm looking too, gossip is when we share a secret that we weren't supposed to share. Now, again, there's difference between that and confidentiality. If there's something where someone did something where it's like, you have to talk to the police, a breach of hurting somebody, or it's like, someone tried to hurt somebody in, the building of, again, those things, have to be reported to certain authorities. But when it comes to something maybe somebody divergent shared with you, it's not going to harm your company. It's not going to harm you. It's something they shared with you and they trusted you in confidence with that. And hopefully you didn't say, yes, let me, keep that secret of abuse to do with minors or anything else, like to yourself. If it's something that needs to be reported, we always want to say, I'm sorry, I love you, but I have to report it, whether it be sexual abuse or anything else for children, right, or physical abuse. But if it's something else where people shared with you, maybe it's they're struggling with their marriage or something else. There's certain things that people share with you that is confidential. They're trusting you with this information. And so gossip is when you do that, right? If it's anything to do that will harm them or they shared with you that they trusted you with. And again, when we tell a story about other people and it's not verified and true, and even if it is true, my friends, it doesn't mean that we have to share it. It's really important to know when to share that and when not to. And sometimes when we hear something, we don't need to share it. Other people may share it for you. You may have heard it first, but you're not sharing that stuff because A, you have that boundary and you want to be honoring to other people. And then also, again, when we share things, so say I'm frustrated with somebody, if I share something and it's not the facts, if you share the facts, so Susie said she borrowed the scissors. Susie borrowed the scissors and she still has them on her desk. That's fact, right? If I looked over and there's a scissors there and it's not Susie's scissors, that's a fact. And so facts are just sharing the facts. It's not sharing anything that would taint the other person in a negative light. It wouldn't sway my belief about that person. That's the difference. Gossip is the intent too, the motive. Am I saying it why? Am I saying it to get a response from other people? Am I saying it, but really my heart motive is for other people to put them down to gossip? Am I saying it to make myself feel better? Am I saying it because it's not appropriate? Am I saying it to make myself look in a better light? Like, those are heart motives that we have to look at, because all of those are not that healthy if you think about it. And if you're saying things like, they, or again, like talking cryptically about them, like, oh, well, they always XYZ. Now, again, some things may be true that you've seen before and observed, but if you assume that, right, we know what assume always means, my friends, it may not be very healthy for you or for the conversation. And so gossip is not when you're processing a conflict or situation, but again, it's not with a trusted friend. Like, there may be very few people that I would talk to about it, but it's not that I'm putting them in a negative light. I'm stating the facts. I gave my scissor away. The scissor's on the other person's desk. They didn't give it back yet. That's factual. It's not putting them in a bad light. It's not saying I gave them the scissors, they're lazy, or they lied, or whatever. You're just not doing that. You're giving the facts about the situation, and it's with a trusted person. It's not with the whole group. And if you're doing that, it's hopefully that you're going to then have the hard conversation, because one big thing with even gossip or venting or any of that stuff is the thing that happens the most, which why miscommunication and why relationships a lot of times are impacted, because you have person A and B. And if person A is frustrated with B and person B is frustrated with A, guess what? A and B need to have a conversation. And if they don't have a conversation, sometimes person A goes all the way through the alphabet except for going to person B. And that's an issue, because you want to talk to that person. And yes, sometimes if you're in a workplace environment or say that, you may need another person. Well, no, before you do that, you want to go to person B. You may need to process that, but you want to talk to the person B first. After talking to person B, and that's not helping the situation, you may have a trusted person C that you talk to and say, hey, I talked to this person, this is what I shared, and you're getting yourself saying the facts about what happened, how you shared with the person, and then getting factual feedback from the other person before going to a supervisor. It's always important to talk to the person first. And so, also giving an opinion about someone's character with references. So again, when people are calling, you're just saying XYZ, you're giving the facts about the situation. So it's really important, again, when we're doing this, that we know that gossip is when we don't have people with their heart motives, or putting them in a terrible light or a different light. We're trying to get the other person to respond in a different light. We're trying to better ourselves. Venting is different. Again, there want to be healthy venting, because we can get negative. I've been in environments where people keep going and going and going out of fear or all kinds of situations, and understandably, other people can be afraid. That's part of an emotion, but you may not be there and you may not have to agree with that, and that's completely okay. But what you can do is listen. But venting is all about if a person needs a process, but they're processing in a healthy way, and maybe with a person or something that they trust, and they're, again, wanting to do, these are the facts of the situation. I'm not trying to sway you X, Y, or Z. And it can be frustrating at times, because what we're doing is trying to process it and understand it. But again, we want to be careful it doesn't go to gossip. There's a really big difference between that gossip and venting and processing. And so venting can lead to gossip if we're angry and we're frustrated, but it turns into something that it shouldn't be. And then again, we want to think about our motives and manners. And so I always, like I said, I'm looking a little bit at this because I love it. Keep it shut. And again, we want to speak. It's important for you to speak and talk about how you're feeling, but saying it in the right way and honoring. And so again, I always like these questions, so I like to think about these. Am I certain what I want to say is true? And even if it is true, is it necessary? Is it really going to help the situation, or is it just for you to do? Because that's all you've known. There's a lot of times gossip leads to shame and guilt and shaming people. And we live sometimes in a shaming society. Instead of being able to help restoration, we shame people, and we don't know how to help grow with people. And sometimes if people aren't willing to grow, having that patience or being able to give them that space, but not doing the whole gossip issue. And do your words bring a solution, if I'm honest, or does it cause more of a problem? That's important. What I share, is it more of a problem, or does it bring solutions? And is my goal to have my comment help the person or situation at hand, or is it to put a little pinch in their heart? Yeah, that's about heart motive. So when I share a comment, is it to encourage them, exhort them, or support that solution, or is it to bam, like hit them in the heart? And that's important, right? To know where we're at and what we're going to speak. Do we need to respond, or do we need some time? And even when I plan to say is truthful, is it an aim? Like, am I comparing? Am I saying, well, I did this because of this? Am I doing comparison? Am I saying, well, I'm better. Look, this person is not so great. Look what they did. See, it's all about the heart, my friends, and that's important because we want to be in the best healthy heart for ourselves, so we're not gossiping. You know, have I earned the right to speak to this particular person? You know, do I have to? Is it my job to share this information? You know, if I speak about this person to someone else, would they say the exact same thing if the person were sitting in front of me? And that's a good one. If the person were in the room, would you be sharing what you're sharing the way that you're sharing it? And are the words really necessary? And have I thought about it or had an effort to determine what I'm going to say? So again, you know, if the roles were reversed, would I want the other person to say the same thing to me? So what you're saying, would you say it the same way to yourself? And those are some important key tips, my friends. So again, you know, we're not going to be perfect with this. Let's just be real. We're not going to be perfect in how we speak, but when we do, to own it. I'm always constantly reflecting or asking people to hold me accountable in this area. I think is important as a person who wants to grow. It's so very important. And so you may be, you know, if you're listening in, might be listening in, and this might be an area of growth. So you may not have accountability, or you might be upset and you've only learned how to share information about somebody else because it feels better. Or, right, sometimes people binge watch TV or listen to TV shows like, you know, sometimes there might be like The Real Housewives, or right, and that's just one that I know is more common. Or other shows that you're like, I just watch this so I feel better about myself, right? A lot of those shows are shaming those people, or they're like so embarrassed, or they don't even know, or they're doing stuff, but people watch it because they're like, at least I'm not this, right? And that's a mindset too. Like, yes, we might all be growing in mindsets and we're so thankful that we're out of that, but we were once there. Or maybe we weren't and we might not understand, but we have something just like that, that we have been set free from, or something just like that, that we have evolved from. And it may be a different area, but my goodness, aren't we all growing and aren't we all learning? And so anytime I speak, or even when I'm talking about to family or about family, I have to shift my narrative too and say, is this kind? Am I doing what's right? Or is this what I've always been taught? And how can I say this to honor the person instead of just honor them? And this is such a huge area. So again, if you are listening in, I want you to know that I care about you. We've all been there. I said something probably wrong before. I've had to apologize, and probably you have too. But the whole point is growing. So thinking about tips of, is this right and true and necessary and kind? Like, would I say this to myself? If I were saying this in the room about myself, would I appreciate it? Would I be uncomfortable? Am I staying to the facts? Am I gossiping, venting, or processing? Do I just have it with a trusted friend? Where have I gone first? Have I reflected? Am I making sure I don't put the person in the bad light? Am I just making sure it's in the facts? So again, you know, I want to encourage you when we're having these areas of looking at when do we speak, how do we speak, and when do we say it? These things are also very critical and important. And so I just want to encourage you all out there, if you are struggling with that, you know, there are different resources. A lot of times I say the pause is a good wisdom step, you know, taking that pause before I speak, taking the pause and saying, is this true and accurate? Why am I saying it? Do I need to say it? Or am I just trying to have a conversation, right? A lot of times people get into it. I've heard groups say, ooh, it's time for gossip. So you know that's the mindset. Like, it's people want to hear something else so that they aren't looking at themselves or to feel better about themselves. And that's what you hear sometimes with gossip. And again, that's a state of mind, and it's things that we can overcome over time. And I feel like that sometimes, unfortunately, in different places can be the norm. If you're a person that wants to change that norm, I empower you to do that. You have a voice to say, you know, if you're hearing that kind of talk, you know, I'm uncomfortable with hearing about other people who aren't in the room, or saying, I just prefer to hear the facts. If you need the event, you know, I'm uncomfortable with you sharing that in a whole group. And so we always can grow with that, but I hope that that encourages you today. And remember, you're amazing and you're brilliant, and I just hope that this empowered you today and gave you some wisdom. Please share it, make sure you tell a friend. And so tomorrow you'll have another guest talking about hard conversations, and then we'll focus on Friday, and that's a little shorter, thinking about how can we apply all the wisdom that we're learning. So I just want to empower you with wonderful wisdom tips on how to have hard conversations, how to speak to other people. And I hope that you have a great week, and make sure you like, share, subscribe if you're YouTube, and have such a wonderful Wisdom Wednesday filled with lots of ideas about how you can have better conversations. Be well, my friends. Until the next time we meet and talk and share.